Hello, good evening. Welcome to Camnet Television Main News. My name is Jeffrey Siambo to present. Our top stories in the news tonight: expecting mothers at UTH BEMOAN 300 kwacha service charge. Court denies former President Edgar Lungu's political advisor KAIZER ZULU access to his passport. VEEP asks for support in hazard-hit areas. In international news, a political faction in Sudan condemns moves to form new government without consensus. And in sports news, all international players jet in for African Cup of Nations qualifiers.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RainGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
Hello, now the news in detail. The Lusaka Magistrate Court has declined an application to authorize former President Edgar Lungu's political advisor KAIZER ZULU to access his passport. In her ruling Tuesday afternoon, Magistrate Sylvia Munyinya refused to permit the release of his passport on grounds that it is part of the state's evidence. This is in a matter in which Mr. ZULU is accused of falsely representing himself to be a person employed in the public service as a diplomat and using a diplomatic passport. More in this report.
The subordinate court in Lusaka's ruled that it will not allow former President Edgar Lungu's political advisor KAIZER ZULU have access to his passport. Mr. ZULU is standing trial on 3 charges bordering on false representation of himself and failing to surrender a diplomatic passport. In the previous court session, the accused, through his lawyer, made an application before Magistrate Sylvia Munyinya seeking permission for his passport to be released in order to facilitate his travel abroad for medical treatment. He had argued that there was no apprehension whatsoever for him not to access his passport. In response, the state opposed the application, arguing that the court had not yet pronounced its decision on the release of the said passport. Tuesday, making a ruling on the accused plea, Magistrate Munyinya denied the accused request on ground that it forms part of the state's evidence, despite acknowledging that the passport may be released to the accused for medical purposes. The court has noted that it can only be done on a temporal basis. The accused's passport has been in the custody of the state. The matter has been adjourned to the 3rd of April 2023. Miriam Kaimba, reporting for Camnet TV News.
A 75-year-old woman of Lusaka's Kanyama compound suffering from dementia and arthritis has been housebound for the last 5 years as she has mobility challenges and depends on her 51-year-old daughter for a living. Speaking to Camnet News, Dorothy Siloka says she has tried to be placed on the social cash transfer program for many years now without success, adding that she, along with her daughter, are living in poverty as her daughter is widowed and currently depending on reselling a few food items outside their house. Meanwhile, medical doctor Teddy Mulenga says there is need for government to invest in nursing homes for the aged to ensure that old people receive the required medical attention for various medical conditions associated with old age. More in this report.
In developing countries like Zambia, old age is often viewed as a nightmare for many, as this means relying on home-based care from family members should one experience various ailments associated with old age, except for the few who can afford specialized care. At the moment, Zambia runs 2 homes of the aged under the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services and is yet to make investments in nursing homes. This means that the aged, such as 75-year-old Dorothy Siloka of Kanyama compound in Lusaka, can only depend on family members with little or no medical knowledge on how to deal with her conditions brought about by old age, such as dementia and arthritis. She narrates to Camnet News her daily challenges arising from these conditions, adding that medical personnel have advised home-based care as the woman has been in and out of Kanyama Hospital. The old woman states that she lives with her 51-year-old daughter who was recently widowed and depends on trading for survival. So nimpavu chabe?
Nimpavu na tupi ni mambea kulema maningi munga nimpira kulema maningi tu.
Miss Loka adds that what makes her situation worse is that she has not been captured under the social cash transfer program after many years of attempting.
Inalembesa mkomo zomeneza wataniza abantu. Ibana nikope baokopa na pesa baenda.
Meanwhile, a medical doctor, Teddy Mulinga, observes that such incidents highlight the need for Zambia to invest in nursing homes to see to it that old people with various medical conditions receive specialized care. The woman hopes that her story will catch the attention of the Ministry of Community Development and Social Services and that she will finally be placed on the social cash transfer program. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Some expectant mothers have raised concern over the delay of service delivery at the University Teaching Hospital. This came to light Tuesday during a visit by the Minister of Health, Sylvia Masebo, at the hospital. The women lamented how they are forced to spend long hours at the hospital in order for them to be attended to. Meanwhile, the Health Minister has wondered why expecting mothers who are referred to the UTH are made to pay 300 kwacha. She has cautioned health personnel to desist from charging patients, especially expecting mothers. More in the report.
They could not help but seize the opportunity of airing out their grievances over what they termed as poor service delivery at the University Teaching Hospital. Tuesday, some expectant mothers raised concern on various issues they were facing at the hospital each time they tried to seek a service. Among those, they lamented how they are forced to spend long hours at the hospital in order for them to be attended to. The other concern was that those referred to UTH are made to pay a 300 kwacha. This came to light during a visit the Health Minister Sylvia Masebo made at the hospital.
Yes, that is an example. Do you understand that it is some of these things that you people are fitting in that is killing the women? We're always telling women, go to the hospital, go to the nearest hospital. So if the nearest hospital, understand, I've come 6:30, what is the problem? Let me explain. Yes, I think so. When they come, can we just be quiet so that we learn? Can we have silence, please? Yes. Okay. When they come in the morning, they go to the antenatal hall, where some antenatal topics are taught. Then after the teaching, we start doing the blood pressure and the weight. Then they also
has that been done on her?
We want to use her as an example.
So she has been seen.
Yeah, she has been here since 7:30. Have you? You've been here since 7:30, Mama. 7:30. So
The hospital administration also seized the opportunity to inform the minister some of the challenges the hospital was facing. It was later established that the lack of human resources contribute to the delay of service complained by patients. The hospital administration further called on government to look into the issue by employing more health personnel.
Even the number of doctors are kind of outpaced. Maybe it's only this hospital because of the nature of its name that a lot of people just come. But truthfully speaking, we do have both in technical workforce, but also in non-technical workforce. For example,
I know myself that we can make the difference, because the difference is not costly. The difference is very little. But because we are not focused in the manner we are responding to issues, we are not holistic enough. You know? That's why we're just doing a bit here, and everything must wait for the minister to visit. That's not the way things should run. No. Things should run continuously. If the minister visits, it's a bonus. You know, it should be a bonus that the minister has visited.
Meanwhile, Global Cooperative Society has donated 100 baby blankets to the neonatal unit at UTH.
The Women and Newborn Hospital, UTH Neonatology Department, is a place of hope and healing, and we are honored to be able to contribute to the well-being of the young patients. Our commitment to improving the welfare of our people extends beyond this donation. We will continue to work with communities and organizations to identify areas where we can make a positive impact and contribute to the development of our country.
Miriam Kaimba reporting for Camnet TV News.
Some residents of Chizingizi Ward, Chasefu Town, have expressed gratitude towards the move by the town council to repair Gumba Bridge in the said area, which was in a dilapidated state for a long time. They have revealed that the bridge became a life-threatening crossing point due to rotten timber deck, and Chasefu Town Council has carried out maintenance works on the Gumba footbridge using the component of Ward Development Fund under CDF. More in the following report.
Gumba footbridge in Chizingizi ward of Chasefu Town, Eastern Province, after being a life-threatening crossing point due to its rotten timber deck, is being resuscitated by the Chasefu Town Council using the component of Ward Development Fund under CDF. The action is in response to the call by Chizingizi residents to have the bridge worked on, as it is an important connectivity which serves over 9 villages and is the shortest route to Lundazi district. Some residents of Chizingizi Ward and area councillor have expressed gratitude towards the move by the town council to repair the bridge in the said area, which was in a dilapidated state for a long time.
According to the work that is being done, I'm actually happy because it was like a death trap. But as the council quickly heard our cry and the work is being done, I'm actually happy. And
ikanangikira para tikasuzikanga kwenda timbire tipite ndhe unopopita kuliji kwene hapa sono munozekera biliji yayi tuonga chomene
bali takozeni walikapo mapranga so ndipo tupita panjini.
Okay. And Venon Muema, Chasefu Town Council Public Relations Officer, says that the local authority, having noted the magnitude of the challenge, carried out maintenance works to replace the worn-out timber on the bridge at the cost of 22,000. He adds that next year's budget will provide for the coverage of the deck of the bridge with rough metal sheet in order to protect the timber from weathering effects.
You may wish to know that the bridge in question is very significant, as it is not only a crossing point that interconnects over 9 villages, but it is also the shortest route to Lundazi district, as people will not need to come and pass through Masindila for them to access Lundazi district in the wake of the presence of this bridge. So, having noted the magnitude of the challenge, the local authority carried out the maintenance works to replace the worn-out timber at a cost of 22,000 kwacha. The local authority, in order to protect the timber from the weathering effect, will in next year's budget provide for the coverage of the deck of the bridge with rough metal sheet.
Beatrice Chabaya reporting for Camnet TV News.
Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources Permanent Secretary Daphne Chavo has dispelled media reports suggesting that officials at the said ministry solicit for bribes from people in exchange for land title certificates or in an attempt to gain favor over disputed land. Speaking when launching the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources 2022 to 2026 communication strategy in Lusaka, Ms. Chavo has challenged witnesses of this vice to report so that action can be taken, adding that such sentiments have been damaging the face of the ministry. The Permanent Secretary therefore hopes that the new communication strategy will make the ministry more accessible to the public, explaining that the ministry will also go digital under this strategy in order to increase citizen engagement. More in this report.
Land wrangles in Zambia have become a daily norm, from reports of illegal demarcation of land by political party cadres, colliding title deeds, or the sale of land to non-Zambian nationals at the expense of citizens. At the center of this confusion has been the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, as it is mandated to manage land matters in the country, with officials from this ministry being accused of corruption. According to the latest Zambia Bribe Payers Index, the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources came out second after the Zambia Police out of 11 public institutions among those most likely to receive a bribe, as reported by a 2022 study conducted by Transparency International Zambia TIZ and the Anti-Corruption Commission ACC. Speaking in Lusaka during the launch of the 2022 to 2026 communication strategy for the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources, Ministry Permanent Secretary Dafin Chawu states that allegations of corruption are baseless, questioning why those who have witnessed this vice have not reported it to the Zambia Police.
This is the narrative we wish to change as Ministry of Lands by this communication strategy that we launched today. What we are most proud of as a ministry is the fact that we have developed a strategy on how to communicate the activities and share information on the mandate of the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. The communication strategy that we are about to launch has created a blueprint or protocol that will guide us in communicating effectively both within the ministry and externally to our clients and stakeholders.
Speaking at the same function, Zambia Land Alliance Programs Officer for Policy and Advocacy Communications, Justina Kunda, has called for land policies that will favor all citizens, taking into account gender and persons with disability.
The people of Zambia need to know what is provided for in the laws and policies around land. Land is a very important factor of production. You can't do anything without land. Even a poor person needs land to live. So it's important that the citizens are aware of what is provided for in the law. Knowing what is there for them will make it easy for them to demand and protect their land rights. If they don't know, it won't be easy. Also that they need to question what is provided for. Is it beneficial to the Zambians or not? And they need to start again discussing. That's why we raised the issue of debate among citizens. They need to question if the laws that are in place are not good. Then they can take it up with their police and decision makers.
The communication strategy was being launched alongside partners like the Jesuit Center for Theological Reflections and Caritas Zambia, among others, with an aim of enhancing communication between the ministry and citizens. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
As the country marks International Forest Day, environmentalist Robert Chimambo has stressed that Zambia is facing consequences of climate change, such as floods and drought, due to unsustainable environmental practices. Speaking during the commemoration of World Forest Day at Cross Park in Lusaka Tuesday, Mr. Chimambo notes with concern that the ecosystem of Lusaka has been disturbed due to poor planning. Meanwhile, hydrologist Happy Sikazwe regrets that catchments in Zambia have faced significant levels of environmental degradation and biodiversity loss. Mr. Sikazwe says it is vital to promote sustainable agricultural practices in order to reduce such bad effects brought by soil erosion. More in this report.
2023 World Forest Day. Zambia has joined the global community in marking the day by reflecting on the importance of forests in supporting life and development. The media network Action on Climate Change, in partnership with Cross Park, reflected on Forest Day by underscoring the need for sustainable catchment management. Environmentalist Robert Chimambo attributed the negative effects of climate change, such as flooding and droughts, to lack of consideration to the ecosystem in the development process.
For the last 14 years, water has been contaminated with fecal matter. In other words, what God put aside, we have put together fecal matter, and that is what is causing all this coral business. But what the bigger picture, what is causing it is that the issue of planning Lusaka planning, Lusaka water management, has been thrown over. So that is where we are now. These are things that haven't started now. These are legacy issues.
Meanwhile, a hydrologist, Happy Sikazwe, who is also a consultant for CrossPark, says consideration of the national land use policy in the country's planning and development can also help to mitigate the negative effects of climate change.
The groundwater quality has also deteriorated due to domestic and industrial pollution. Because of deforestation and burning of trees and grass, water seepage of surface water into the aquifers has tremendously reduced, leading to groundwater shortage. Our animal population has also reduced owing to inadequate pasture coupled with illegal poaching. This is a major concern to every riparian, and measures to reduce degradation of our environment in the catchments should be instituted.
And Media Network Action on Climate Change Programs Manager Bruce Mwale has called on the government to stiffen the implementation of laws which are aimed at protecting the forests in the country.
Our message as we celebrate the World Forest Day, our call is for government ministries, the Ministry of Lands and Green Economy, to stiffen implementation of laws which protects our forests. In the same breath, we urge the civil society organizations and environmentalists like Mr. Shimambo and stakeholders like CrossPark to speak with one voice regarding the acts that would protect our forests.
Patrick Soko, Camnet News.
Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu has expressed concern over the increased rate at which the deforestation is taking place in the country. Speaking at the commemoration of World Forest Day and launch of the AFRI 100 initiative, the minister has indicated that Zambia is facing challenges in the conservation and management of forests, with the current deforestation rate standing at an estimate of between 250,000 to 300,000 hectares per year, as reported by the Forest Policy of 2014. The minister has since called on environmental management key players such as the general public to work towards ensuring that the environment is preserved. More in the following report.
According to the Forest Policy of 2014, research indicates that Zambia faces a number of challenges in conserving and managing forests. The rate of deforestation currently is estimated to be between 250,000 to 300,000 hectares per year, making it one of the highest deforestation rates in the world. In a bid to curb deforestation and climate change, Zambia Tuesday 21st March 2023, during the commemoration of World Forest Day, has launched the African Forest Landscape Restoration Initiative AFRI 100, a country-led effort to bring 100 million hectares of land in Africa into restoration by 2030. Speaking at the event, Minister of Green Economy and Environment Collins Nzovu has expressed concern over the increase in the deforestation rates in the country.
Zambia faces a number of challenges in conserving and managing the forests, with the rate of deforestation estimated at between 250 and 300,000 hectares per year, as reported by the Forest Policy of 2014, making it one of the highest deforestation rates in the world. And my call to you, my reminder is that we've been at this for a long time. We've measured the rate of deforestation for a long time. Let's now concentrate on measuring the rate of afforestation and reforestation. How many trees are we planting each year? And indeed, again, I'll come back to this, that a lot of us, even in this room, are always singing about how many trees they are going to plant.
Mr. Nzovu says that despite knowing that one of the causes of climate change is deforestation, people are still cutting down trees illegally. He has also urged the general public and various stakeholders to desist from activities that are endangering the environment, further encouraging them to consider planting trees when they can in order to complement government efforts.
Therefore, there's need for all of us to promote sustainable forest management to ensure the green economy and social of economic development. My ministry is also cognizant of the fact that necessary measures should be put in place to actualize this year's theme dubbed Forests and Health. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is worth noting that health forests protect us from diseases. Forests have traditionally served as a natural barrier to disease transmission between animals and humans. But as deforestation continues, the risk of diseases spilling over from animals to people is rising.
Also speaking at the same event, UN Resident Coordinator Beatrice Mutali notes that forests have enormous benefits for health and livelihoods, further stating that the future of generations to come depends on forests, hence the need to preserve them.
To the effects of climate change, let us remember that with 13 billion tons of carbon being in trees and the soil, caring for our forests is one of the most effective ways to address the climate crisis. Forests are invaluable in protecting people and the planet towards a sustainable future. Let me conclude by underscoring the commitment of the United Nations system in supporting Zambia's development in line with the aspirations of the government and the people of Zambia as contained in the 8th National Development Plan. UN support from this year until 2027 will be delivered through the Zambia United Nations Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework.
Beatrice Chabaya, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Meanwhile, the Green Economy and Environment Minister says the ministry, working with the Office of the Vice President and the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit, DMMU, is well equipped and ready to deal with the negative impacts of Cyclone Freddy, which has affected selected parts of Zambia such as Lundazi and Chama districts, leading to some bridges being washed away and some roads being cut off. The minister was speaking in Parliament Tuesday afternoon in response to Shuangandu Member of Parliament Stephen Kampyongo, who wished to know the country's mitigation measures for affected Zambian citizens against the background that the country was offering help to neighboring Malawi, which has been hit by the same tropical cyclone. The Minister of Green Economy and Environment says among the measures is the sending out of a technical committee to assess infrastructure so as to bring affected areas to the attention of the Ministry of Infrastructure and Urban Development. He adds that the ministry is also working with other ministries such as health, as well as water development and sanitation, noting that access to clean water and waterborne diseases are some of the concerns that arise in the midst of such disasters. Affected parts of Zambia have been hit by the cyclone, while neighboring Malawi is currently at a death toll of over 350 people who have died as a result of flooding.
Indeed, as stated during the update on Tropical Storm Freddy, that it will affect certain parts of Zambia. That has come to pass. The remnants from Tropical Storm Freddy, which dissipated much more in Malawi, where there was a lot of devastation, has also devastated some parts, in particular Chama. And during that update, as I'm going to update the House now, that my ministry, working with DMMU, under the Vice President's office, has indeed put in the necessary measures. Even as we speak right now, DMMU is on the ground. I think the Vice President's office, with ourselves, are very, very well prepared to ensure that the necessary measures are taken. Further, Madam Speaker, it will be gratifying for my Honorable Member of Parliament to note that on the infrastructure side, the Minister of Infrastructure, Honorable Milupi here, has also sent a team there. I don't know whether it has arrived now. It sent a team there to ensure that there is a complete assessment of infrastructure damage. Further, government has formed a technical committee to look at the various infrastructure, particularly the roads and the dams, because there's a lot of dams which have been destroyed as a result of Tropical Storm Freddy.
You're watching Camnet Television Main News. We'll take a break. Join us for more news after the break.
Water is life. Each drop counts and each must be cherished. Our tried and tested product meets all international standards. With our smart drip technology, we aim to deliver precision irrigation designed to reduce blockage and wastage, ensuring a high yield. RenGlow, your smart irrigation partner.
In our quest to save nations and develop Africa, Savenda is investing in the agriculture sector so as to produce supply for both local and international markets, housing over 12,000 pullets that are nurtured and fed with our locally made stock feed that comes from our own locally grown maize and soya beans, all processed from our recently installed milling and mixing plant. Our over 95,000 layers have an output capacity of over 1,500 trays of fresh eggs per day that are carefully selected and packaged for all the leading stores and supermarkets nationwide. Our greenhouses are fitted with the latest irrigation system, and the seedlings are nurtured to ensure only healthy plants reach the fields. With our deliberate planting schedule, we are better placed to supply constantly without interruption, thus reliable. Savenda Farms is also changing lives of its dedicated workforce drawn from the local community and beyond. So the next time you think fresh and green, think Savenda Farms.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Welcome back. We'll continue with the news. Vice President Mutalena Lumango has called for compassion towards the flood victims, both in Zambia and Malawi. Speaking when she received a donation of 710-kilogram bags of meal from Blue Sky Alliance in Lusaka Tuesday. Mrs. Nalumango notes that Zambia has experienced extreme weather conditions, leaving some areas in need of assistance to survive. She notes that some areas that experienced floods also experienced dry spells, leading to high temperatures that completely wiped out their crops. She says this situation calls for relief food, adding that the donated meal will help many victims through this storm. The Vice President also noted that government was doing everything possible to secure the victims, but that the numbers are huge, hence President Hakainde Hichilema calling on other stakeholders to come on board and help the victims. She has thanked Blue Sky for the gesture, adding that the donations will go to the victims as intended by the Alliance. Meanwhile, Blue Sky Alliance representative Shen Yaolin says the donation follows the presidential appeal to support the victims Meanwhile, Blue Sky Alliance representative Shen Yaolin says the donation that follows the presidential appeal to support the victims speaks to the Alliance's mandate of helping society meet its basic needs like clothing, shelter, and food.
We appreciate the call from the Blue Sky Alliance that let other people come on board to assist the victims of this extreme weather that Zambia and other countries have experienced. The extreme weather is not just that I can state sitting here as part of the disaster management, has not just been floods, Mr. Yaolin. We now have a situation where crop has wilted in many parts of the country. Like if you go to the Kwembe Valley, it is another, from floods to crop wilting. Even parts of Lusaka may not have a good crop because of the dry spells that we have experienced. So the end is not by the end of rains. We still have many other issues. And that is why the President of the Republic, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, has called on all of us as Zambians to do whatever we can. And therefore, receiving this donation this morning from Blue Sky Alliance is a very, very important day and occasion. We are receiving 710 10 kg bags of roller meal.
The right decision to purchase 700 bags of roller meal to donate through the Camnet office. And we sincerely hope that our contribution can go in a small way to at least to help the people who are affected from the floods. We would also to take this opportunity to call upon
United Party for National Development, Sinazongwe Member of Parliament Gift Sialubalo has warned legal action against a Chinese-run mine which has been accused of buying 60,000 square meters of land at 120,000 kwacha from locals and set to relocate them. The investor allegedly bought the 60,000 square meters at 2 kwacha per square meter. Mr. Sialubalo says the company and the constituency office have not yet reached any resolution, hence the decision of taking the legal action against the company. Mr. Sialubalo was, however, quick to mention that he is not against investment in the area, but that investors should not take advantage of the people's ignorance to swindle them.
Happened is a very, very sad problem. Now, we had a meeting in January, somewhere around 11 o'clock of January this year, where we gave them conditions in terms of top up, how much they should give each family, so that at the end of the day, the families can smile. Wherever they go, at least they can come up with a better house. To date, there hasn't been any response to our proposal, which were agreed by not only the Member of Parliament, but all the stakeholders in Sinazongwe. So I made a follow-up today. The answer is still very negative, that I can tell you. Now, what I'm urging the would-be investors and the current investors in Sinazongwe is that we need investment in Sinazongwe. We have a lot of coal, we have lithium, we have tin, and many more minerals that need to be mined in Sinazongwe. We like investors to come, but we are not willing to accept or receive an investor who comes to arm twist the people of Sinazongwe. We are not ready. So what we are undergoing with Koramko mine, they just need to come back to their senses.
The Southern African Center for the Constructive Resolution of Disputes, SACOD, Executive Director has expressed shock at the decision by a parliamentary select committee that has been put in place to scrutinize the appointment of High Court judges by President Hakainde Hichilema to chase him from making a presentation because he was wearing an African attire. Organization Executive Director Boniface Chembe says he was ordered to wear a suit in order for him to appear before the parliamentary committee. Mr. Chembe says that Zambia has no law which says that one must put on a suit for them to appear before Parliament. He says it is embarrassing that Zambians must be discriminated for putting on an attire which is an expression of Zambian culture, wondering why Parliament has continued to hold on to archaic things that do not add value to its operations.
Law in this country that says you must put on a suit in order to appear before Parliament, especially when you are a civil activist and you are coming from civil society and you are not a government official. It is extremely shocking and embarrassing that we should be discriminated against in our very own country, which is on the African continent. I can not imagine that a British national, for example, be chased from Parliament for putting on a suit, which is an expression of British culture. Why should our Parliament continue to hold on to archaic things that don't help this country? When we appear before Parliament, we don't showcase. It's not suits that speak. It is actually the human being that speaks. It is the brains of the human being that speaks. And when we begin to reduce the expression of intelligence in this nation based on a suit, then we are creating a disservice in the manner in which governance ought to take place in our country. Our Parliament and its undertakings where the clothing is concerned and where the discrimination of African attire and culture is concerned is embarrassing, it is unacceptable, and it has to stop.
The Food and General Suppliers of Zambia has distanced itself from the alleged supply of air to government. In a walk-in interview with Camnet TV in Lusaka Tuesday, Association Vice President Kreda Mweope says the association has been supplying food to government institutions on credit, thereby accruing a huge debt to food suppliers. She has cited the Zambia Police Service, the Zambia Army, among other defense wings, as some of the public institutions that have benefited from the credit supplies. The association has since warned its members that all those who may be found wanting are on their own.
President, His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, for the good services providing to Zambians and indeed to us as food suppliers. During the SONA, of course, coming from the President, he talked about some suppliers who haven't been supplying as such, for lack of a better term, who have been supplying air but demanding payment. What I would like to say here is, for food suppliers, we have been so efficient such that no single government institution would claim that they have starved, they have gone without food because we haven't been able to supply. Hence, nothing like not supplying and demanding for a payment. But in case there is anybody who is doing that as a food supplier, they should know that they are on their own because the law will catch up with them. Urging the government to continue carrying out the servicing of the local debt, especially for food suppliers. By servicing the food suppliers, they are helping so many families. And nevertheless, as I've said, we have been supplying government institutions like Zambia Police, Zambia Correctional Service, Zambia National Service, Zambia Army, Zambia Air Force, and of course other institutions. But we have proved to be good food suppliers from time immemorial.
You are watching Camnet Television's main news. We'll take our second and final break. Join us with international sports news after the break.
For immediate coverage of any breaking or latest news in Zambia and around the world on Camnet Television, call the numbers on your screen. Camnet Television, bringing to your screens fair news, impartial news, credible and reliable news all the time. Get the whole truth on Camnet World News. Camnet Television, not just another channel.
Welcome back. And now in international news, an influential Sudanese political faction condemned Monday, March 20, the plan by the country's military and the main pro-democracy forces to establish a transitional government despite lack of consensus. The timeline unveiled Sunday, March 19, plans that a new civilian-led government will be formed next month. The faction known as the Democratic Bloc includes Sudan Finance Minister Jibril Ibrahim and the governor of Darfur, Mini Minawi, among numerous other smaller political figures and parties. The controversial framework agreement was signed on early December under international pressure. The deal pledged to establish a civilian-led transitional government to lead the country to elections. Despite thorny issues that remain unresolved, supporters of the agreement welcomed the move, offering a path forward in the work of Sudan's stalled transition to democracy following the October 2021 coup. Here's a round of international news for more.
An influential Sudanese political faction condemned Monday the plan by the country's military and the main pro-democracy forces to establish a transitional government despite lack of consensus. The timeline unveiled Sunday planned that a new civilian-led government will be formed next month. We, at the Democratic Bloc did not sign the framework agreement. We do not accept it, we reject it. And we do not accept the lawyer's draft. We have our point of view on the dates that we weren't consulted on. It is not accepted by us. I think any group forming an authority without an agreement with the other political powers will lead the country into darkness. The controversial framework agreement was signed on early December. Despite thorny issues that remain unresolved, supporters of the agreement welcomed the move, offering a path forward in the wake of Sudan's stalled transition to democracy following the October 2021 coup.
Senegal's president has rejected claims that it would be unconstitutional for him to seek a controversial third mandate, refusing to confirm whether he would like to go for a third term. The opposition claims that Senegal's constitution prohibits Macky Sall, who was elected in 2012 and again in 2019, from running again in the next election scheduled for February 2024. In an increasingly tense political climate, the opposition has repeatedly alleged that Sall intends to override the constitution to do so. Senegal's constitution was revised in 2016 to shorten presidential terms to 5 years from 7. It states that no one can exercise more than 2 consecutive terms. Sall argued that when the Constitutional Council was consulted before the revision, it considered his first term to be outside the scope of the reform. Colonel Assimi Goïta, head of Mali's junta, meets with religious leaders, politicians and civil society in a bid to promote Mali's new draft constitution. The draft constitution is the subject of our meeting today. It's the result of discussions during which the members of the Commission freely expressed themselves and took into account the major concerns expressed by Malians. Initially, the referendum for its adoption was to be held on Sunday, March 19, but was later postponed. We must work together so that Malian people with full knowledge of the fact that ownership of the draft constitution and adopt it by a large majority, we will then have taken a decisive step into the process of rebuilding our states. The constitution is the starting point of the vast reform project initiated by the transitional authorities in Mali for the return of the civilian power.
We now have sports news. And now in sports news, a duo of Chipolopolo midfielders Lubambo Musonda and Klings Kangwa are very positive going into Thursday's AFCON qualifier match against Lesotho. Zambia is set to play against Lesotho at Levi Mwanawasa Stadium in Ndola this Thursday at 18 hours. The duo has urged the supporters to watch the game live and support the lads, describing the match as crucial.
Yeah, it feels good to be home with the team. Though I haven't yet seen them already, it feels good. We're just looking forward to the game now. We go out and train and prepare for the game. Every game is a tough one. You just have to prepare adequately for it, and that's what we aim to do, and we aim to get a positive result from that. Well, they should rally behind us. It's been long since we played in Ndola. It's been some time, and every time we played here, it's been a good atmosphere on the side of the fans, and we hope they will come out in numbers again and support us.
Finally, I'm here. I think everyone is here now, happy like always, and looking forward to meet everyone. A very important game. It's not going to be easy, We are playing against a good team, but we are playing at home. We have to show our strength. We have to show everything. So I'm positive that the result will be okay. In football, it's always a pressure. So I think I'm very mature enough to know how to handle pressure. So I'm not in under pressure. I'm just here to play my football and try to help the team. Asking for the support from you guys, come in numbers, and I believe and I hope that it will be an interesting game you will enjoy.
On that note, we come to the end of the news tonight. But before I go, the top stories once again. Expecting mothers at UTH bemoan 300 kwacha service charge. Court denies former President Edgar Lungu's political advisor KAIZER ZULU access to his passport. VEEP asks for support in hazard hit areas. In international news, a political faction in Sudan condemns moves to form new government without consensus. And in sports news, all international players jetting for African Cup of Nations qualifiers. Our Camnet verse of the day is coming from Proverbs 8, verse 13. To fear the Lord is to hate evil. I hate pride and arrogance, evil behavior, and perverse speech. Thank you again for watching Camnet Television News. My name is Jeffrey Siambo. Good night.